What happens to the human body when a mind tries to delete its own conscience? We will examine the case of a young student who genuinely believed he was an extraordinary man, exempt from all moral laws. His name is Raskolnikov, and his story is a clinical autopsy of a dangerous intellectual theory, already overwrought nerves. His physical condition is failing. He is crushed by deep poverty, walking the streets in literal rags, and going days without food. He has retreated to a cramped garret room, creeping down the stairs just to avoid his landlady. This complete social isolation acts as a psychological incubator. Lying in the dark for days, cut off from human interaction, he loses any tether to the real world. Left unchecked, a terrifying philosophical idea begins to grow in his mind. He publishes an article proposing a rigid, unyielding rule. He argues that humanity is strictly divided into two distinct biological and moral categories. This diagram illustrates his premise. The large cluster trapped beneath the line represents the ordinary masses. Their sole biological purpose is to reproduce, live in submission, and obey the law. But occasionally, an individual forces its way up and breaks the boundary. These are the extraordinary people, the Napoleons of history. According to Raskolnikov, these exceptional figures possess an inner right to step over moral boundaries and commit any crime necessary to achieve their grand ideas. To prove he belongs to this elite upper category, he decides to conduct a real-world test. He resolves to murder a cynical, wealthy pawnbroker. He plans the act using cold logic. By eliminating one harmful person and taking her money, he rationalizes a net benefit for society. He is absolutely certain that his superior intellect will block out any emotional consequences. He brings an axe down on the old woman's head. The crime serves as a catastrophic clinical trial of a philosophy that treats human life as a mere variable in a mathematical equation. On paper, the logic seemed flawless, but in practice, his body violently rejects the action. Almost immediately after the murders, rather than feeling triumphant, he is gripped by a severe physical fever. His thoughts twist into a tangle. He wanders the streets, his heart pounding, slipping into terrifying periods of mental blankness. He obsesses over trivial details, a noticeable hat, a speck of blood on his sock, convinced these tiny errors will be his ruin. The intellect attempted to rationalize taking a life, but the biological reality of the human nervous system is fighting back. The mind and body physically reject the act of murder, triggering a total systemic breakdown. It's in this weakened state that he meets the lead investigator, Porfiry Petrovich. Porfiry doesn't care about collecting physical evidence. He wages psychological warfare directly on the suspect's mind. Porfiry operates on a simple psychological thesis. A suspect can construct a flawless logical defense, visualized here as a rigid grid. But underneath that structure, the immense pressure of their own human nature, their temperament, starts to warp the lie. Eventually, the stress shatters the facade. A guilty man will betray himself. He faints at the police station. He talks excessively when he should stay quiet. He will even return to the empty apartment, ring the doorbell, and listen, just to feel the cold shiver of the crime all over again. The symptoms of this breakdown become agonizing. When his mother and sister arrive to care for him, he feels a literal physical hatred toward them. He cannot bear to be in the same room with the people he once loved. The trap has closed. The very logic he used to elevate himself above the masses has instead built an impenetrable psychological prison, severing him completely from the rest of humanity. The extraordinary man hypothesis flatlines. Raskolnikov realizes he is not a Napoleon at all. He hasn't reshaped the world. He has only managed to ruin his own life for an abstract idea. We see the exact antithesis to his cold logic in a young woman named Sonia. Look at this ornate golden icon. It represents the deep spiritual empathy that anchors her. Despite enduring immense suffering and poverty herself, her life is entirely defined by compassion. Crushed by the unbearable weight of his isolation, his soul demands the relief of human connection. He goes to Sonia and confesses the murder, desperate to share the reality of what he has done. His intellectual pride has failed so utterly that his only chance at survival is to surrender. he must rely on the exact human conscience he spent months trying to mathematically erase. Even after he confesses and is sent to a remote Siberian prison, shown here with convicts gathered outside a rough log building, the pride lingers. For months, he continues to tell himself that his actions were merely a stupid blunder of fate. But the sickness eventually breaks. The cold, rigid ice of his logic finally breaks open, replaced by a sudden rush of pure, unanalyzed feeling and a profound love for Sonia, who followed him into exile. The autopsy of Raskolnikov's theory leaves us with a stark conclusion. Attempting to surgically excise your own conscience does not elevate you above the law. It rots the mind from the inside out. Human beings are not algorithms to be optimized. And no amount of pure logic can ever insulate the mind from the relentless demands of the human heart.